There is a version of mental fortitude that gets celebrated constantly. You've seen it. The man who doesn't flinch, who grinds through exhaustion without complaint, who absorbs setbacks quietly and keeps moving, who shows nothing. Most men believe that is the thing, the stoic face, the iron will, the refusal to bend. They're wrong. Not entirely, but wrong in the way that matters most. What they're describing isn't mental fortitude, it's the performance of it. And those two things are not the same. Think of an iceberg. What you see above the waterline, the toughness, the composure, the apparent unbreakability, that is behavior, that is output. And like anything above the waterline, it's exposed, subject to conditions. Push hard enough, long enough, and it erodes. Men who've built their entire identity on surface toughness know this. They hold the posture until they can't. Then they collapse, privately, and wonder why the thing they spent years cultivating wasn't enough. It was never enough because it was never the source. The Stoics had a word for what lives below the surface: hegemonicon, the ruling faculty, the part of you that decides how you respond to anything life puts in front of you. They weren't interested in toughness as a performance. They were interested in training the interior so that the exterior took care of itself. That's the distinction worth holding on to. Most men train the exterior. They build discipline around visible behaviors, the workout, the schedule, the cold plunge, the grind. These things have value here, but they are above the waterline. They are outputs of something deeper, or they are nothing but habit. And habit without foundation breaks under real pressure. Real pressure isn't the hard workout. It's the phone call that changes everything. The diagnosis, the loss, the failure that arrives without warning and without mercy. Here. That's when you find out what's actually been built and where it was built. A man with genuine mental fortitude doesn't perform under that pressure. He simply responds from what he's already constructed below the surface. The response isn't dramatic. It doesn't look like much from the outside, but it holds, because it was never dependent on conditions being favorable. That's the architecture we're talking about. Not a mindset, not a morning routine, a structure built deliberately below the surface, over time. Next, we go below the waterline and look at what that structure is actually made of.
Below the waterline is where the real work happens, and most men never go there, not because they lack the courage, but because no one ever told them it existed. So let's look at what genuine mental fortitude is actually built from. The first element is values, clarity. Not values as a concept, values as a working document, a clear, honest account of what you actually stand for. When a man knows precisely what he values, decisions under pressure aren't really decisions. They're already made. The hesitation, the wavering, the collapse under duress, these almost always trace back to a man who never settled the question of who he is and what he's for. Pressure doesn't create weakness. It reveals the absence of clarity. The second element is an accurate relationship with control. This is where the Stoics were simply correct. There are things within your control and things that are not. Most men know this intellectually and ignore it entirely in practice. They exhaust themselves, resisting the uncontrollable outcomes, other people's behavior, circumstance, and have nothing left for what they can actually influence. Mental fortitude isn't the ability to overpower circumstances. It's the discipline to stop fighting the ones that were never yours to fight. The third element is self-knowledge, specifically knowing your patterns under stress, your triggers, the particular ways you tend to contract, deflect, or perform when things get hard. A man who doesn't know his own architecture can't maintain it. Self-knowledge isn't introspection for its own sake. It's operational intelligence. It tells you where you're structurally sound and where you're not before pressure makes that discovery for you. These three elements, values, clarity, accurate relationship with control, and self-knowledge, are what sit below the waterline. They don't announce themselves. They don't photograph well, but they are what holds when everything else is tested. And here is what's worth understanding about all of this. None of it is fixed. It's constructed. Deliberately, incrementally, through the kind of work that looks like nothing from the outside: reading, reflection, honest self-assessment. Returning to first principles, when life pulls you off center, that's what this channel is about. Not the performance of a certain kind of man, the architecture of one. Mental fortitude isn't what you display when things are hard. It's what you've built, quietly, seriously, over time, so that hard things don't require a display at all. That's the old-fashioned experience.